The year is 1862. Forget the battlefields of the Civil War for a moment. Forget the clatter of muskets and the roar of cannons. The real fight for the soul of the American Republic was about to be waged not between North and South, but between two audacious, borderline insane companies who were racing across the most brutal, unforgiving, and magnificent landscape on Earth, armed with nothing but dynamite, shovels, whiskey, and the most revolutionary machine of the age, the Iron Horse. The United States of America was a geographical absurdity. From the established civilization of the East Coast to the gold-rich, newly settled shores of California, there stretched over 1,700 miles of wilderness. It was a chasm, a logistical nightmare, a terrifying void known as the Great American Desert. To cross it meant 6 to 8 months of agonizing, bone-jarring travel by stagecoach or wagon, a journey where you were just as likely to die from cholera, starvation, or a sudden devastating blizzard as you were from an encounter with hostile forces. This gap, this terrifying, magnificent distance, was more than just a physical barrier. It was a political and economic hemorrhage. It cost the Union millions in trade and forced the burgeoning wealth of California to sail all the way around Cape Horn, a 15,000-mile, 6-month-long voyage just to reach New York. The nation had a head, the East, and a foot, the West, but no spine to connect them. Then, at the height of the most existential crisis the nation had ever faced, a near-broke, profoundly ambitious, and utterly corrupt quartet of Sacramento merchants, derisively nicknamed the Big Four, convinced President Abraham Lincoln and a cash-strapped Congress to sign into existence the Pacific Railway Act. It was a gamble of epic proportions, an act of almost desperate faith. This single law mandated the construction of a single, continuous iron track from the Missouri River all the way to the Pacific Ocean, the first Transcontinental Railroad. The vision was simple, a ribbon of steel to bind a fractured nation together. The reality was a descent into a world of impossible engineering challenges, unimaginable human cost, and a race for land and money that would make millionaires of thieves and leave the scars of industrial conquest etched permanently into the American landscape. The race was split between two companies: the Central Pacific Railroad, CPR, starting in Sacramento, California, and driven by the Big Four: Leland Stanford, Collis Huntington, Mark Hopkins, and Charles Crocker. Their goal was to conquer the mighty Sierra Nevada mountains. No railroad had ever attempted anything so audacious. The Union Pacific Railroad, UPR, starting in Omaha, Nebraska, and led by the volatile and often brilliant engineer Grenville McCulloch Dodge. Their path was seemingly easier across the flat Great Plains, but they faced the full, unyielding force of the elements, the logistics of building a line 1,000 miles from civilization, and the constant, violent threat of a conflict with the native peoples of the plains. The prize? Not just the glory of completing the greatest engineering feat of the 19th century, but a colossal financial jackpot. For every mile of track laid, the United States government gave the companies a massive land grant and a generous interest-bearing loan, up to $48,000 per mile in the mountains. This meant the further and faster they built, the richer they became. The clock was ticking. The stakes were nothing less than the future of the American West. The story of how they did it is not just a tale of technology, but a saga of immigrants, soldiers, opportunists, and dreamers who literally built the foundation of modern America with their bare hands, brick by bloody brick. The Central Pacific's first obstacle was the most terrifying.
The Sierra Nevada mountain range stood as an impenetrable wall of granite, ice, and dizzying elevation. The chief engineer, a quiet, brilliant man named Theodore Judah, had laid out the path. A path so ambitious that most other engineers dismissed him as crazy Judah. He saw a series of mountain passes, trestles, and most critically, tunnels that would allow the Iron Horse to scale the 7,000-foot summit. Judah, tragically, died of yellow fever before the true work began, leaving the project in the hands of the Big Four, men whose primary talents lay in finance and ruthless management, not engineering. The problem of labor. The first challenge was not the rock, but the men. Charles Crocker, the driving force behind the actual construction, initially relied on white laborers, many of them recently unemployed gold miners or restless frontiersmen. They were hard-drinking, independent, and prone to abandoning the back-breaking work of grading and blasting for the slightest rumor of a new gold strike. The mountains were winning the labor war. By 1864, the CPR had barely progressed 50 miles, and they were staring up at the sheer face of the Sierras. Crocker was desperate. The Union Pacific, though still slow, was about to start laying track. His foreman, James Harvey Strawbridge, was vehemently opposed to Crocker's only radical idea left: hiring Chinese immigrants. They're small, weak, and they'll never hold up to the work, Strawbridge argued, voicing the pervasive anti-Chinese prejudice of the time. They built the Great Wall of China, Strawbridge. Can't they build a railroad? Crocker is famously reported to have replied. Against immense prejudice, Crocker hired 50 Chinese men as an experiment. They were meticulous, sober, organized, and crucially, they stayed on the job. Within months, Crocker ramped up hiring. Soon, the CPR's workforce was almost entirely Chinese. At the peak of construction, nearly 12,000 Chinese laborers were chipping, drilling, and blasting their way through the Sierras. The construction of the tunnels at the summit, particularly the nearly 1,700-foot-long summit tunnel, was an act of pure, frozen desperation. The work began in 1865, just as the worst winter in decades descended. Snowdrifts piled up to 40 feet deep. The Chinese workers, under the incredible pressure of Crocker's deadlines, had to live and work beneath the snow in tunnels carved out of the drifts. They worked around the clock, in 3 shifts, 7 days a week. The method of blasting was agonizingly slow. Drilling. Workers suspended by ropes down the sheer cliff face would pound 30-inch steel drills into the granite rock. Packing. They packed the holes with black powder and later the revolutionary and terrifying new explosive nitroglycerin. Blasting. The explosion would loosen only a few feet of rock at a time. To speed the process, Crocker began drilling from 4 directions at once, both ends of the main tunnel, and by sinking vertical shafts down to the tunnel level in the middle, creating 2 more faces to work from. The Chinese workers were lowered down these shafts where the air was thick with smoke, dust, and the stench of burnt powder. The work was so loud and hazardous that many workers suffered permanent deafness and lung damage. The use of nitroglycerin was a game changer, but came at a horrific cost. More volatile than gunpowder, a stray spark or an unexpected jolt could detonate it instantly. Accidents were tragically common. While the official number of Chinese casualties was downplayed by the Big Four, often listed only in the low hundreds, historical estimates suggest over 1,000 Chinese laborers died during the blasting and grading of the Sierras. Their bones often simply buried where they fell. They were the anonymous martyrs of America's Industrial Revolution. By the time the CPR finally punched through the final tunnel in 1867, they had conquered the impassable Sierra Nevada. They had done the impossible. But the Union Pacific had been waiting, building rapidly across the flatlands, and they now held a massive lead. The second phase of the Great Race was about to begin.